Well, tonight, everyone, our eyes are on the process leading up to the election. Escalation over the Naira notes controversy. An APC presidential candidate and top APC chieftains today have met with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State at the government house in the state. We're keeping our eyes on those issues and bringing to you all you need to know as far as this election is concerned. The verdict starts right now. The top stories we are following for you: protests, chaos in some parts of the country as angry citizens have taken to the street in protest of the Naira notes policy of the CBN amid scarcity of the currency. And northern elders have warned politicians who are planning to subvert the electoral process against such activity. Bola Tinubu, APC governors today have met with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State at the government house. Could this be the anticipated alliance? A very good evening to you, everyone, wherever you may be watching. This is the 2023 verdict live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimalo in Abuja. Our countdown continues. We keep our eyes on the clock. 9 days, 12 hours, 57 minutes, 37 seconds. It's counting down. It's changed. 34, 33, 32. And that's how the clock keeps changing by the moment. When was it that we're talking about months? Weeks, and now it's just few days to the election, and I hope that you are ready, everyone, to get counted in a decision that will determine who the next president and the members of the National Assembly will be, and that decision will be in another 2 Saturdays away from today. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with me on the program. Don't forget that you can be part of whatever we're talking about tonight by letting us know what you think by tweeting to us on these handles that you can see on your screen, and send an email to us also, 2023verdict@channelstv.com, hashtag 2023verdict, and you get your voice in on the issues that we are discussing. So much is happening, everyone. Tonight, we get our hands or our teeth into the meat of the matter, and we're looking at those issues that have been grabbing the headlines. For example, those issues happening on the street of Nigeria today, the escalation, the anger, the protests and the chaos, the burning of ATM. Governors have said that some Nigerians who working in the banks, or the banks would not be allowed to operate if they're not allowing citizens to use the old notes. And this is some of the visuals and the sites of what has been happening. This is in Delta State earlier today. And on the streets of Kogi State, you can see also what is happening with citizens taking to the streets in protest, burning tires, and in some banks they've been attacked, and ATM and the banks being also vandalized. All right. There you go. I don't know what is happening in your own area, in your community, wherever you may be. This is what we are following. And of course, some of what we are hearing in Rivers State, where the presidential candidate of the APC, some chieftains of the APC as well, have been meeting with Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. You remember that some members of the G5 had said they will come out to the public to tell them what they will do going forward. So much to talk about. Stick around with me because these conversations are going to be very interesting. Do you know that some young Nigerians in the APC are already speaking up about the situation in their party, in the presidency? The governor of Central Bank has also met with President Muhammadu Buhari today. The candidate of the APC also met with President Muhammadu Buhari today. So many things are happening. We make sense of all of these for you. First and foremost, let's check out what is happening across the country on your election news update.
The presidential candidate of a cold party, Professor Chris Imomolen, says the destiny of the nation is tied to youth involvement in the development of the country through active participation in politics. The Accord Party flag bearer says Nigerian youth have the potential to address the country's numerous challenges. Professor Imomolen was speaking at the presidential parley organized by the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru. The last may not have been heard about the situation in the Ogun State chapter of the People's Democratic Party at the governorship election primary. As a former governorship aspirant, Segun Showumi says he is still in the governorship race. He made the assertion in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, during a day workshop for about 300 World Party mobilizers and coalition agents from the 20 local government areas of the state ahead of the general election. Mr. Showumi notes that he was instituted a case at the Supreme Court with the expression of optimism that he will emerge victorious as the governorship candidate of the party in the state. The Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council and Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, says the people of Rivers State will vote overwhelmingly for the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the upcoming general elections. He stated this when he and other members of the PDP paid a condolence visit to Governor Doye Diri at his hometown in Sampo over the death of his father. Governor Tambuwal was accompanied to the visit by his Bauchi State counterpart, amongst other high-ranking members of the PDP.
And I believe that the people of Rivers are part of this country and they are aware of what is going on. They are aware of the abysmal performance of the government of the APC.
Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has threatened to shut down any branch of commercial banks operating in the state for failure to accept the old Naira notes from residents of the state in the face of the current challenges. Governor Abiodun gave the warning during his re-election campaign tour to Abeokuta North local government area in Ogun Central Senatorial District of the state. While seeking the understanding and cooperation of residents in this re-election bid, the governor promised more critical infrastructure development for the people of the state. The governorship candidate of the African Democratic Party in Ogun State, Mr. Olubi Otegbeye, says his administration will create policies that will promote businesses and development and empower youth and women across the state if voted as governor. Addressing his supporters at a rally in Ijebu-Igbo, Mr. Otegbeye promised to provide quality infrastructure and enhance the economic development of Ijebu North and the entire state. Some members of the State Working Committee and coalition of APC support groups in Taraba State are asking the presidential candidate of the party, Senator Bola Tinubu, to suspend his planned campaign in the state until all grey areas concerning party leadership and governorship candidature are addressed. At a press briefing in Jalingo, the state capital, the group dissociated itself from the primary election that produced Senator Emmanuel Boacha as the APC governorship candidate following the boycott of the primary by 5 other aspirants. They insist that a vote of no confidence has already been passed to the chairman of the party. The Alumni Association of the National Institute for Security Studies has warned politicians against provocative and inflammatory statements in the build-up to the general elections. Briefing journalists at a press conference in Abuja, the president of the association and former director, Department of State Services, Mr. Mike Ejiofor, warns that Nigeria's collective patrimony is being threatened by political gladiators and urged patriotic Nigerians to rise up through constructive rhetoric to assuage tension and assist security agencies in bringing the situation under control. There have been reactions and legal opinions on the suits filed by state governments over the Naira swap policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. A professor of Law and Dean of Faculty of Law, Bayes University in Abuja, Ambo Madaki, says the Supreme Court is the apex court and as such, its decisions are binding overall. The professor of law spoke to Channels Television on the sideline of the doctoral induction program at the university earlier today.
This is a novel approach by some governors of Nigeria. Let us await the outcome of the adjudicatory process by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And I believe that the judges of the Supreme Court, they have the capacity and the capability to determine the issue to the satisfaction of Nigerians.
Thank you so much. Brace up, everyone, because our discussions tonight are touching on the very nerve of the race. It's not getting any slower. It's so much intense and so much is happening that could swing the trajectory of the race. Let's check the temperature right now, the state of the race. The campaign train of the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar today touched on in Jigawa State in the northwestern region of the country, where his visit was greeted with a turnout of numerous supporters and members of the PDP. Atiku vowed at that campaign to open up Nigerian borders to businesses to thrive if voted into power. And Bola Tinubu of the APC took his own campaign to the south region of the country, precisely in Port Harcourt of Rivers State, where it was flanked by the governorship candidate of the party in the state and other chieftains of the party. Thereafter, himself and some other chieftains of the APC visited Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. The convener of the Northern Elders Forum, Professor Ango Abdullahi, is advocating the need for free, fair and credible elections as a panacea for peace in the country. He was addressing participants in the 10th anniversary and General Assembly of the Forum in Abuja. Professor Abdullahi says the North is ready to resist anyone who attempts to subvert the 2023 general elections.
Now, we are almost at the point when these elections will hold. And we have been in constant touch with our colleagues. The Northern Elders Forum had remained committed to talk to other Nigerians on any matter at any time. And if there are differences, we should resolve it on the basis of discussion. But for us to be beginning to see threats that if this happens and we don't like it, we'll do something negative. So we are warning that the elections hopefully will be conducted free, fair and credible. And anybody who wins the election must be accepted as the winner of the election without sentiment. And if there is any attempt to subvert it, then we'll be ready to also counter. No.
Professor Ango Abdullahi, one of the northern leaders who spoke at that forum earlier today. Now, I showed you earlier what happened in some parts of the country. But before I get there, let me show you what also happened on the sideline of the Rivers APC campaign. The presidential candidate of the APC, some governors and former governors of the APC and leaders of the APC had visited Governor Nyesom Wike, who is a member of the PDP at the governor's house in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Well, over the past few weeks, the G5 governors who have been aggrieved about a few issues in the internal workings of the PDP have said they will determine and announce where they will ask their supporters to go in the presidential race. And so the visit of these leaders also will give us some points to talk about tonight. Tonight, We begin with the escalation and some of the protests and chaos that we've seen today on the streets of Nigeria. I'm being joined by a former member of the National Assembly, a senator who was a member of the Public Accounts Committee, Senator Shehu Sani. He joins us live here in our election studio. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Perhaps you've not seen it, but I guess you have seen those pictures. Let me show you again what's been happening on the streets of Nigeria today. In some part, angry citizens have gone to ATMs, vandalizing parts of banks. This is on the street of Delta State, burning of tires, and you see at some banks, they've attacked some banks, ATMs are being attacked. This is in Delta State. I'll show you what happened in Kogi State also, some of the areas that we have been following for you, citizens taken to the street. Senator, are you surprised to see this? Or what's your take on what has been an escalation?
Well, thank you very much for having me once again in this program. Well, the protest you have seen is a reaction to the CBN cashless policy and the redesign of the Naira. But before then, I think it's important that we critically analyze the situation. The federal government has made a mistake in its policy of redesigning the Naira and also the cashless policy. And this mistake it made was that there was no wider consultation with Nigerians on how these things can work and how they can be carried along. And when the National Assembly passed the bill that became an act, there was no serious debate and a wider consultation within the polity in terms of getting Nigerians to know the implications or the consequences of this redesigning. The way it was done, it's like because the mandate of the CBN is very clear. So as far as the governor of the central bank is concerned, he can go to the president and get his approval, and then it becomes a prescription for all Nigerians. And that was the mistake. Was
that a mistake?
It was a mistake.
I thought it's procedural.
It's procedural, but where are we today? People were not properly enlightened and they were not properly carried along. And now we woke up in a day and see before us a policy that affects the lives of every Nigerian. And in such a way that we are a developing country where people use cash for their daily transactions. And it's supposed to be a similar situation as it was in the past, but a nation of 211 million people, and you are taking such a very crucial and critical decision on matters of economics that affects their lives, there's a need for that consultation. It's supposed to be done. That was a mistake. And on the side of those in the position of power, the governors, their own reason for objecting to the redesigning of the Naira and the cashless policy is simply because of the elections. They want to use the old Naira notes to buy votes. If this redesigning was done after elections, there could not have been anybody going to court. There could not have been anybody from the side of those in the political authority challenging, objecting, or resisting this.
You think you think that is the reason?
It is the reason.
And because you said it categorically, as though you have an evidence that they're actually going to rig elections with the money.
It's not about rigging election. Why the insistence on using the old Naira notes? Is it because the people are suffering? Or if now they said you can use the old Naira notes after elections, they will still not agree. They want to use the old Naira notes to buy votes.
But the governors have said that they are saying their clamor is because of the average person. You don't believe them?
Well, the average person in Nigeria in the last 7 years has been traumatized, has faced a lot of hardships. And you can't talk to me about average person. I that come from the northwestern part of Nigeria, where every day the average person is being killed, is being kidnapped, his life has been decimated by terrorists and bandits. How many of these governors have ever gone to court to take the federal government over matters which affects the lives of ordinary people. These are people that have been supporting all the policies and programs of Buhari's administration. For the simple fact, from what I've seen, the president is trying to usher in a political order, a political system, an election where money will not influence, decide, and shape the thinking of people. And they're opposed to it. If this redesigning was done a year or 2 years ago and people are queuing and suffering, there could not have been any governor. They will simply say it's the policy of our party, everybody should fall in line. It's simply about 25th of February. And let's not make a mistake about it. The struggle on this new Naira note is as important as the soul of democracy in Nigeria. If you allow these old notes to be used before 25th of February, on or before, I mean, you forget about credible and transparent election. There's so much poverty in this country today. People will not see money and turn the other way. Money has for a very long time influenced the decision of ordinary people, the masses of the people, because poverty has been so weaponized. So as far as I'm concerned, there should be no validation of these new notes until after the elections. Then that can be done. If you do that now, the system, the election will be so monetized. Why is it that it's only the ruling party that are complaining that they need money?
Did you see the Nigeria Governors Forum statement headed by Governor Tambuwal, who chair of the NGF, and they have spoken up against the policy. And Governor Tambuwal is a PDP governor.
Yes, of course. But who are the
only state
that
have backed the FG, that has been on the side of the FG, is Edo State.
And then Edo is on the side of the people. It's on the side of the masses. If that is it, it doesn't matter if the majority will go the wrong way. The governor of Sokoto State is the chairman of Governors Forum, and he can only speak on behalf of the majority decision which they have taken. There is no governor that doesn't want money to give to electorates. But what I'm saying is clear. How many governors from the opposition have gone to court? If we allow these old notes to be used for the 25th of February, we should forget about transparent election, because all this fighting, many things have happened in Nigeria. How many times have you seen these governors raising an eyebrow? They have been defending, protecting, insisting that these are the policies of government, only on the issue of money. That's all.
From the last time that the CBN gave Nigerians a breakdown of how much they've mopped up, we understand about 900 million or so is still left, or thereabout, is still left in circulation, to be taken out of the old notes. You think that is the target, that amount is the target. You think that is enough to do what you think that they plan to do? Because again, and I then ask, what evidence would you have to corroborate what the allegation that you've made?
Well, there was a time, if you Google, you will see it very clear. There was a time the EFCC said some governors are under watch for stashing billions of naira in some certain locations. So that is a government agency making that statement. And you ask yourself, why the insistence on the use of old notes? Is it because the ordinary people are suffering? Ordinary people have not started suffering from the time MFLA introduced the Naira. They have been suffering for the last 7 years. How many of them cared? They never cared. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the government should stick its ground. And if you are contesting an election for presidential, governorship, or National Assembly, if you are popular and people like you, and you are sure that your program will scale through, why money?
There are those who are of the view that even the new notes are being stashed. So if you say that this policy should not be allowed, mind you, Senator, some governors have said they will shut any bank that refuses old notes.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if there is any bank they should shut, it's not the commercial bank. They should shut the central bank branches in their states. And let's see how they can function. Because a commercial bank receives directives from the central bank on what to do. And they said they had been directed not to receive the old notes. So go ahead and shut down the CBN branch in your state, and let's see how that will work. All these things is about, we have stash of old notes. We want to distribute it on election day for people to vote. That is all about it.
So you have the view that the 2023 election or the February 25th election is going to be rigged or votes are going to be bought. That is your view, isn't it?
Well, when I speak, I am also a student of history. In the last elections that have taken place in this country, there has never been any in which there is a serious onslaught against vote buying as we have seen today. One policy by CBN and the federal government has kept everybody on his toes. Who are that everybody? People who want to buy votes. This is it. Now, a democracy is supposed to be, election is supposed to be a democratic exercise where people can exercise their constitutional rights to elect leaders that will address their problems. Nigeria will face a lot of problems, political, social, economic, security-wise, and so many things. At this time, we should be thinking of a leader that has the capacity, the competence, the integrity, the honesty, and the experience and the wisdom to address our problems. But they know that their selling point is money. And that money, if they have enough of new Naira notes, nobody could have gone to court.
So you agree with the likes of Chief Affe Babalola, who says deep pockets or deep-pocketed politicians will buy votes, and this election could be determined by the deep pockets?
Well, as you can see it very well, the way the major political presidential candidates, Asuwaju, Atiku, Obi, and Kwankwaso, in all, it is the supporters of Asuwaju that have been making this point. And I know very well that he has won election a number of times in Lagos State without sharing money to people. And he had, from his record, as one who fought for democracy, one who has been in the front line of struggle, even during Obasanjo, to ensure that this democracy, he has selling points. But governors that are behind him, who were beneficiaries of the democracy which we fought for, now are trying to portray and color the situations as if the only way for which they can win power is allowing them to use the old Naira notes. And that is very wrong.
So the president today met with the governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele, hours after the Supreme Court adjourned the suit filed by the state government to challenge the Naira redesign policy of the CBN. That hearing will happen on the 22nd of February, 3 days before the election, which means that that policy will still have to go on as far as the position of the Supreme Court is concerned. But the aide to the president, Mr. Garba Shehu, told Channels Television that the CBN governor was indeed expected to see president and believed that he met with him after the Federal Executive Council meeting today. The president had 11 days ago appealed to Nigerians to give him 7 days to resolve the cash crunch, and the NGF urged him to allow all old notes circulate in the system to ease hardship on ordinary Nigerians. The president said he was going to come out in 7 days. It's National Security, National State Council of State and met and advised the president on this matter. What do you think the president should be doing now, based on all of what is on the table and the escalation we're seeing on the streets?
Well, first of all, I must make a call that the people of Nigeria, the masses, should not go on public protest at this very time, because any spark can lead to a conflagration. We can incinerate the country and derail the democratic process and destroy our democracy as a whole. So I believe that some of those who are not having their way today, they will very much be interested in having people in the street and protesting. And they come with a gap of as if they are fighting for the common people. The common people have been suffering for almost 8 years now. It's now that you know the common people. Schools have been closed down for over 8 months. Nobody has raised anything. In our own part of the country, people are killed every day. There was nothing other than saying that the government has been doing its best. People are kidnapped. Here we have our train, Kaduna to Abuja, was derailed, and the kidnappers took over, terrorists took over people, and nobody has done anything or said anything about it. So at this crucial hour, what I will advise the president to do is simply to stick to that no use of old Naira notes. But I believe that as pressure, and one unfortunate thing is that the opposition are not doing what they need to do. The opposition thought with or without money, because people are suffering and there is so much hardship, they would win election. But let's take it very well. A nation that has statistically proven to have over 133 million people, poverty has been weaponized. Allowing the use of these old Naira notes will influence the decision of the people. And we can't be talking of having a democracy in Nigeria when leaders buy positions, when they buy the presidency, buy the governorship position, buy the leadership position. Leaders that are fit for our country, that we deserve, should be leaders that are competent to take over power in Nigeria.
All right, let me take you to a bit of politics now. This picture, can you please put back a picture of the APC presidential candidate and some of the leaders of the APC meeting with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State earlier today, just a few hours or minutes away. They were meeting at the government house in Rivers State. For you, this picture, Senator, shows, and I know you left the APC and you're a member of the PDP.
Yes.
Does this change any part of the game? Is this a game changer in any way?
Well, any presidential candidate that visits any state, it is the tradition that you visit the chief executive of the state and visit traditional rulers and visit any prominent person before you go on a campaign. So the picture I've seen here is the presidential candidate of the APC, the Jagaban, visiting Wike. And until Wike come out publicly to say he has endorsed Jagaban or Aswaju, then I know that the party will now decide on what to do.
But I mean, you've been following the situation and the development before now. It does look to a lot of political watchers that Wike will probably endorse anybody except Atiku Abubakar. He said so much about that. And it's 9 days, 10 days to the election, and this kind of visitation, do you think it's just ordinary and normal? I mean, I've been monitoring politics for China's television for some time. This doesn't look normal to me. For you, if it comes out to say it is Tinubu tomorrow, does it change anything in the game for Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi or Kwankwaso?
You see, first of all, I contested the election and I lost. And when I lost, what I decided to do was to, even though the person who won has heavily used money which I could not give, is to support him to take over leadership in the state. If you contest an election, especially the primaries, and you lost, it is incumbent on you as a responsible and a disciplined party member to support the candidate of your party. And if you have any grouse, it should also be solved within the party. Wike is an exceptional man that has made a lot of sacrifices for the party. He has never left the party. He has committed a lot of resources and has a lot of supporters all over the country. But where does he take them? There are people who are loyal to his party. People are contesting under the PDP in the very state will he tell them at presidential level, vote for A, and then at governorship level, vote for B? He's taking a serious gamble.
He's been saying that.
Now, let me tell you, apart from that, that's one. Secondly, I think Nigerians have reached a point today in the political history, our political history, where a governor of a state cannot determine to the people who they should vote for. At this time, at this hour, people of this country have decided on who to vote for. Those that will vote for Atiku Abubakar will vote for Atiku Abubakar, whether the governor of any state say no or not. Those that will vote for Peter Obi will vote for Peter Obi. Those that will vote for Asuwaju Jagaba, they'll vote for Asuwaju. Those that will vote for Konkoso, they'll vote for. So the endorsement of a governor now is inconsequential, is irrelevant. But as for Wike, it's better you go with the devil you know than the angel you don't know.
So who is the devil, who is the angel? In this context?
I am making references to the fact that the PDP has been a party that he built, even when many of us were critical of it. And there is no better place for him than his party. If he goes to any other party other than his party, he goes there as an IDP or as a refugee. And that will not give him that clout that he had in his own party. I can see that people at this time in our history have been cross-carpeting. You see an APC member saying he will vote for a PDP candidate, a PDP member is vote for a PDP candidate. So where we are heading to at this time is a new political development in our history. Right. But I believe that as for Wike, he should have a change of heart because he is putting the lives. Whoever wins the presidency of Nigeria will determine who will win the governor. Right. If Asuwaju wins the presidency of this 25th of February, and will he visit Port Harcourt and tell the people of Port Harcourt or Rivers to vote for Wike's governorship candidate? He will not. The same thing, if Atiku wins election, he will say they should vote for governorship candidate from their party. So you are taking a deep gamble. Nobody will vote for any governor from another party when the presidential candidate is from different parties. Yes.
Senator Sewushani, thank you so much. The man who speaks with a lot of proverbs on his Twitter handle. Thank you so much indeed for speaking plainly tonight on this program. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Val.
But that's our show with Senator Sewushani. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the internal wranglings in the APC. There are those young members of the APC who believe that President Buhari needs to stand up to what is happening. We'll be hearing more on the crisis and the escalation and what this means for the 25th February elections. Thank you so much, everyone. Youths in the ruling All Progressives Congress APC are asking President Muhammadu Buhari to sack the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, over the continued hardship being faced by Nigerians as a result of the policy of the redesigning of the Naira notes. They addressed journalists in Abuja, and the convener, Ayo Yalowo, at that press conference says that the policy is targeted at ensuring that the party lose the 2023 presidential election. The youth are drawn from across the country, and they're wondering why just 11 days to the elections, Nigerians were still facing severe hardship over the monetary policy, arguing that the central bank governor is deliberately turning millions of Nigerians who would want to vote for the party against it. I'm now being joined by the convener of that group, Ayo Oyalowo. By every look of it, you're not a young person at all, is it?
I told you we are not young. I don't know where you brought the word young from.
You're not youth, but you may be young.
Everybody is young.
Thank you so much, Ayo, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Right, indeed. Mate, you made some very strong allegations. You're asking for some very difficult decisions from the president. On what basis are these allegations and your submissions at that press conference?
Thank you, Sean. I actually wanted to read something here, but I'll have it in my head. The presidency released a statement through his spokesperson, Malam Garba Shehu, that they will study the Supreme Court judgment and abide by it. And also the
It was actually an injunction.
Yeah, the court injunction.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you are the law student.
No. So because there's no position yet.
And then the Attorney General also, but you know, he said the status quo should stand. For now, that means the old Naira note should have been in use. And also the Attorney General told the same line. So when we say the president should sack the CBN governor, we are saying that he's disrespecting not just the Nigerian people and the Supreme Court, but he's even disrespecting the man who appointed him in the first place. Because if the president, through his law officer, says they will study and follow whatever the injunction is until there is a substantive statement by the Supreme Court when they sit down to actually hear the allegation. Because what we have here is an ex parte motion saying stay execution until the case is properly heard, which was heard today, and then it was also moved to 22nd of this month, which is about next week, I think Monday or Tuesday. So if he is now deliberately going against what the law officer, who we believe is representative of the president, is saying, then why is he still in the office? I mean, Sean, let's look at this.
Why would he say that he's going against it?
Because...
Has he taken any decision?
Yes, because we saw today that a statement emanated from the CBN that the old note can no longer be used as a legal tender, which means he has disobeyed not just the Supreme Court, but he has gone against what his employer...
Have you been able to verify that statement, if it's coming from the CBN?
But you saw the news everywhere today. No, that money is being rejected by people. And now let's talk to ourselves. Sean, as we speak, Britain has just changed its currency because the Queen died some time ago and they have a king and his face is going to be adorning the new currency. There is no drama about it. Nigeria has changed currency several times. We've never had a drama. The United States just changed the dollar about 2-3 years back. I'm sure you remember that too. There was no drama because normally what you do is you let people spend the old money, and the moment it goes into the bank, it never comes out. Only the new one comes out. But those who still have the old one can do their businesses with it. But only in this country do we like unnecessary and unneeded drama. What do I mean? You release the new notes half of December, and by January, which means you are giving just 45 days after you have taken away about 3 trillion from the system, you are making about, 300 billion or so available, which is less than 10% of what we are talking about. You are actually precipitating a crisis, and we are seeing it today. As we speak, I'm sure you saw Benin, the CBN in Benin made a run on. We saw the another bank, I don't want to mention the names of those commercial banks in Delta that was burned to the ground. We saw in Ilorin, you saw in Ibadan. And my fear is if this thing spread and escalate around the country, it becomes a crisis of an unprecedented and monumental proportion. So it beggars belief, and it beats every common sense when people sit here and say, oh, the old note is to buy currency, when even the CBN governor himself has said even the new one have been hijacked by politicians. We know that one gives new excuses every day, but he has just said that. So making it about politics is jejune, is very childish, because if you are talking about crisis that this money has created, the people that are being punished on the street today are not politicians. And if you say you want to stop people from buying votes, what you have just done now is, if we have to believe the CBN governor that some politicians have seized that money, then you have just made vote buying even more easier, because I'm not accepting it, but without considering, let's say people want to buy votes. The person that you will have paid 5,000 before, because of the situation you have put them now, they will take 500 naira just to eat, because we can see people's dignity being stripped of them. You saw grown men and women crying, not because they are begging for money, but because they cannot access their own money. How do we think this makes sense?
Let's take this issue one after the other. And you heard the guest when he said he was curious about the fact that most of those who have opposed the policy of the CBN are mostly supporters of your party and some of the governors of your party. And the question then begs, and you said as much in your press conference, that this policy is meant to make your party lose the election. Your opponents have alleged that your party wants to use the old notes to influence the election.
I mean, like I said earlier on, that is, I'm trying to hold my language very well. It's so childish to even think about that. Because if the worst come to the worst, how much do you buy a vote? Seriously, how much? If you can't get Naira, you will get $1 and give people dollars. So making it about vote buying is beside the point.
Oh, you are stated in your press conference.
No. I will go there. You've asked me now. Let me.
No, yeah, I'm making reference to.
Yeah, I know. I will answer you.
Go ahead, please.
Now, it's not about buying votes. It's about creating anger. Go check online. People will say the party that brought this will vote them out. That's what we are talking about. It's about creating an enabling situation to make people be angry. And we believe that the moment, whether it was contrived, whether it was by mistake, whether it was by omission or commission, the CBN governor threw his heart in the ring to run for election. That was the day he should have been fired. Whether it was true or not, no country in this world will accept that kind of thing, because you do not expect him to be partisan. You remember the moment that happened, what did the INEC say? That they can no longer trust the CBN to keep their critical material. Isn't that where they used to keep it? Now you see the danger we have created. So whether the man is actually a member of the party or not, he has given us a situation where we have to keep defending what we don't need to defend. The day those messages, those pictures came out of him buying about 50,000 cars to want to run, all of them branded, that was the day he should have been questioned. Because you can claim, oh, it's not me, some people bought it on my behalf. Who are those people? Now, this is where the problem began from. So we see it as a man who is angry, and he wants to use his anger to create a situation to ensure that the APC not only lose the election, to create a groundswell of anger against the party. Because we have never seen a situation in the entire world, you can quote me anywhere, where new notes are introduced, and in 45 days, you say people should bring over 3 trillion.
There is an update on the presidential.
Yeah, I saw it as I was coming in.
Yeah. Does that even increase your fear? Because you said that the plan is to make your party lose. Without poll, does it buttress the fact that your party is at the danger of losing the election?
No, we're not at the danger of losing the election because Nigerians are not foolish. They can see what is going on, that this is a groundswell. I mean, you talked about the governors. Clearly, the APC governor have said, look, this is not our party's policy. But a governor who has made sure that his state assembly has not sat, he has refused to swear in 14 out of the 24 assembly members, is one of those people standing against the policy. I mean, to support this evil policy. Meanwhile, as at today, his state was on fire. So you see, these guys think everything is politics. It's not about politics, it's about humanity. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of those old men. Those old women were also pulling off their dresses, crying because they couldn't eat. How do we make this about politics? Where is our humanity? We are saying you can't strip people of their dignity because you want to do a policy. I will tell you a story. A governor in Nigeria, he's now a former governor, and I was in a meeting with him a few days back, and he said this, and that struck a chord with me. He said, as a governor, I did a policy. What was that policy? I increased the school fees of a particular university. I don't want to mention the name of the governor. But when he increased the school fees, he was at Omura with some people, and the people were speaking in a language you understood, one of our local languages. And he had the father saying, well, I like the policy, but now I have to withdraw my child from school because I can't pay. He said, and he said this, I'm quoting him directly now, that so my policy will make this man not to put a child in school. So no. Then he said, I came back to Nigeria and I resigned the policy. Not because the policy was not good. He said, but when a policy, no matter how good it is, have unintended consequences that are damaging to people, a good policymaker sits down, review, and then re-strategize.
Ayo, did your party see this coming? Is it a situation of a house divided against
No. It's not the house divided against itself. Like I told you, it has something to do with our party. We have a man who lost, or who thought, because he has acquired whatever I think it is he has acquired, has done some very bad things, and probably some people have promised him that we will shield you, just ensure that they don't come back. Maybe not. But this is what we are looking at. That is why we are appealing to the president, that look, you have a legacy. You've spent 8 years. For the whole period you were a president until now, there have been no fuel crisis. Suddenly, at the twilight of your administration and at the eve of an election, there were crises everywhere. Fuel crisis, Naira crisis, now decide to join on it. Now the fuel crisis has eased. We thank God for that. At least in Abuja, I can say that. But this Naira crisis, the way the CBN governor is doubling down, you will find out that this is more than just policy.
So I then ask you, the president is the leader of your party.
Yeah.
He said that he will campaign for your candidate. You have alleged,
which he has been doing now.
Yeah, you have alleged that the on-the-ground pinnings of these is for your party to lose the election. Don't you think that the president has a bird's-eye view of the situation?
Yeah.
Just for a moment, as a leader of your party, do you think that the president, who you are saying that should take action, sees things from every angle and perhaps is taking the best decision?
Okay, well, you remember the president was interviewed sometimes back, and one of the things he said is that he doesn't want people to mobilize thugs and funds to commit electoral fraud and stuff. That's a legacy he wants to leave. Beautiful legacy, beautiful legacy. However, if you remember, I don't know how old you are, but in 1984, he did this exact thing.
Don't worry, I was alive.
he did this exact thing. I was in secondary school then, and my mom was a bank worker then, so I followed the event very closely. And he did it, and it worked. So you see, sometimes novelty, so somebody came to sell it to him, he will buy it because he thinks it's the right thing to do. However, like I said, this is where you are taking the president away from this issue. If you are the policy maker, and your policy have unintended consequences, you need to sit down and take a break and take a review. Now, the Supreme Court has said let the status quo remain, but we are getting mixed messages. The CBN say they won't take the money, that money is no longer legal tender. People should come and write application and wait for 4 weeks to get their money. What we are telling Nigerians is this is not our policy. And when Ashwaju wins, God willing, he will reverse this. If you have lost money in this, the money will be changed because this policy is not human policy. And I will give you an example. I remember in this your studio, Malam Nasir Rufai said something which was very key. And it's true. If you go to so many northern states, apart from the state capital, there are no banks in the villages. He gave example of Yobe and Borno, which is true. If you take away the capital, most people are unbanked. How do you give them 45 days? And don't forget, this government has been big on SMEs and all sorts. Most of these people who businesses are 5,000, 10,000, they are 100 kilometers away from the capital. How do you want to deny them? We've been sitting down here today, but we have forgotten. If just last weekend, somebody that I know got into a big trouble and we needed to send just about 100,000 to the person. 3 of us could not send. All our bank apps were not working, and the person was in a deep trouble. Now, this is it. We use technology. We will do cashless. We will do all these things. But you see, anywhere in the world, these things are encouraged. They are not legislated. They are not draconian. They are not done in a draconian way. So even if you want to encourage cashless transaction, what you do is you make sure that you remove all the unnecessary charges. Today, if I show you my bank app, you will see they charge me for transfer, charge me this, charge me that. Just small transfer, you get plenty charges. Then you get them charging you for ATM maintenance, they charge you for card maintenance, they charge you for all manner of spurious charges. So if you want to encourage cashless transfer, you don't force people and make people's life miserable.
We're due for a break in just a few minutes. Okay. And I'd like you to respond to these, and it takes us to break. Now, and I'm trying for our viewers to understand and break things down. If your group at that press conference came out to say, this policy is meant to make your party lose the election. This policy, the CBN governor said, was approved by the president. The president has also come out to say he has approved it. Now, the president is a member of your party. Are you invariably or are you indirectly accusing the president of wanting your party to lose the election?
Well, you see, the thing is, I don't know what the president is thinking, so I can't talk or say what he's thinking. The only thing I can say is that he has been following our candidate to some of the state to campaign. So invariably, he wants him to win. However, this policy is not helping us because it is driving anger towards our party.
Do you think
that is why we are appealing
it was
to him.
Intentional? Do you think that
No,
is an
I don't
intentional
think
act?
his intention is to make our party lose. It is the implementation that has now have unintended consequences, and that's why we say it should be reviewed. I don't know what the president is thinking. I can't speak for him. Whatever is in his heart, it is only him and God that knows. However, the action that has been taken is that he's been following our
Are there
candidate to his
columnists in your party?
No, not in our party.
So what? These
Maybe people that are talking to him that he listens to, because, for instance, the CBN governor, we don't know when he joined our party. And suddenly, he wanted to be a presidential candidate of our party. So yes, he may be one of the 5th columnists, and he may have other people working with him. I don't know. But whatever the CBN governor is doing, clearly is intended to cause harm. Not just to our party, but to the generality of Nigerians. Because all people that are not able to access money, to buy medication, to eat, they are not just our party members, they are Nigerians.
I want to ask you, maybe the CBN governor, maybe he thinks that he's doing his legitimate job. Well, if you're asking for his sack, is it fair to him? Because his employer is the President Muhammadu Buhari. Just a moment. Okay. His employer is President Buhari, who thinks the man is doing his legitimate job because he gets the approval of the president on this policy.
You say he's doing his legitimate job, and is it fair to him? And I will just use this small proverb to close it. If you are sent a task of a slave, try and deliver it like a freeborn. You have put out the policy, you have seen the reaction all over the country. You don't need to go to court. You don't even need anything beyond a little common sense to see that there is problem. When there is a problem, like I keep using this word, when there are unintended consequences, no matter how good the policy is, let's have a review. This policy has, see people burning down banks. Who bears these responsibilities? He's even throwing his own his constituency under the bus. He was a former banker. He was an MD of a bank. His own particular bank that he came from have shut down for the past 1 week. So what are we talking about? You cannot make transfer to that bank. I don't want to mention the name, but he knows the bank he came from.
Should your party lose this election, would you blame Emefiele?
We will not lose the election, don't worry. We don't have any fear about
question.
We will not. I don't even think about it.
What gives you the confidence?
Because Nigerians know that we didn't create this problem. And Nigerians know that whatever Emefiele is doing, he's doing it in order to fight back because he did not get the party nomination.
You think?
I know.
You think the people that are burning the tires, and you have said it yourself, that some people are saying...
Maybe you need to go on the street and speak to... I've spoken to a few people. I was in the petrol station a few days ago. I was at the Suya joint 3 nights ago. And the discussion we had, everybody knew where the issue is coming from. So we're not afraid of what will happen. And like our candidate said, just keep the peace. And we are going to tell people to try and keep the peace so that we will not have them bring out another idea of an entire national government.
Ayo, let me bring you to the realist circle.
Okay.
The game is a game of a win or a lose.
I know.
So it's either you win or you lose.
We know.
And you could win. I've lost before. So the question is
that election was in school now. Forget that thing. You've been saying this.
There's no small election, Ayo Yalo.
It was small.
But the question is that is either you win or you lose. Should your party lose this election, would you blame it on someone else?
Well, I have told you, and I'm going to reiterate it, we will not lose the election.
All right. That takes us to break, everyone. When we return, I'll be speaking with Ayo Yalo on what happened today in Rivers State. Is it possible that Governor Wike might be endorsing Bola Tinubu? If that happens, what would change in the game? These are some of the thoughts that should be on your mind. And let's ask the question tonight. Deliberate on this part of the conversation on the politics of 2023 elections. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation with Ayo Yalo, a political economist and a member of the APC. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Sean.
Now, have you considered this? 13 political parties have vowed that they will withdraw from the race this election if the CBN governor reverses itself on the cash sword policy. What do you have to say to that?
All those 13 parties, they will not have up to 5,000 votes nationwide. Nationwide. So it's not an issue. It tells you that for them, it's about politics, not about human lives. And you remember when we were on break, I told you about what happened in India in November 2016, when they forcefully also did something similar to what we're doing, forcefully withdraw the 5,000 and the 1,000 rupees in the guise of fighting against black marketeering. Eventually, what they succeeded in doing is to wipe out 1.5 million jobs. So what you are going to do with this is that the lowest cadre of people, you are wiping them out of the economy, you are wiping out jobs, and then you are going to, whatever you say you are fighting against, the black market that they say they were fighting against has returned in full force. So clearly, you have to think through things. Forcing and dictating a policy, especially monetary policy like this, doesn't work. It never works. People will always find a way around it. So whatever you need to do, think through it. There are always better ways of doing it. Those parties are just jokers, seriously.
Quickly, before I move into other issue.
Sorry, let me just ask you, do you even know the name of any of their presidential candidates off heart? They're just jokers, so it's not a problem.
Is it fair to make reference?
If you are not a joker, you would not play with the lives of Nigerians that people must die just because of election. That if they withdraw the policy, you will. I mean, who does that? Human lives are at stake here.
How do you then speak to Nigerians? Because you're campaigning, the name of your candidate will not be on the ballot. It's going to be the logo of your party. How then do you campaign to Nigerians or tell them about your political party, whose policy all of these contradiction that is coming from your party is coming from?
Sure, we are being
What
unfair.
do you say?
I have told you 100 times that this is not the policy of the APC.
I mean,
this is the policy of the CBN
you're confusing
government.
me now, actually.
Yeah, it's not the APC.
You know why it's confusing?
Because it's not in our manifesto that we're going to change money 45 days with the election. We didn't say that to
I asked you
Nigerians.
the question earlier.
Yeah.
The policy was approved by the president, the leader of your party.
I told you that the president did that before. So clearly, when they told him, they didn't tell him these unintended consequences. And now that we have seen it, and also we are getting a report that there will be a shift and there will be an extension of date till April 10. I hope that breaking news is true.
I mean, we can't until we verify.
Exactly. That's why I said I hope. That's why I put caution behind that.
All right. So let's go into what happened today in Rivers State. I see that you're smiling.
Yeah.
Why the smile, though?
Because our spokesperson, Festus Keyamo, once said jungle goes so mature. Now jungle is maturing.
You think this is going to be in the favor of your party?
Of course it is in our favor. All the parties in Rivers State, SDP, PDP, APC, the major parties, are all in support of Jagaban himself. So we know now, before we are thinking, okay, maybe we can even get at least 30% in Rivers. Now we are actually looking at outright win in Rivers State. So it's good for our candidate.
So how realistic would that be? I mean, this is an assumption, though, because this is a visitation. There is no exact statement coming from that meeting.
There doesn't need to be a statement. They are adults. All the aides of the serving governor of Rivers State were there. All of them wearing the Jagaban logo cap. But they're not kids. And this is a governor, no matter how I disagree with him in his way, he has performed excellently well. In fact, it is to his credit that people of, for instance, Delta State knew that their governors have been given humongous amount, which they all hid from their people. It was only Governor Wike that came out and said, we got this, and that's why I've been doing all these projects. Other people just took the money and kept quiet. And then everybody keep blaming President Buhari. He's a wicked man. He's a bad man. Meanwhile, the governors are getting humongous money that the PDP never paid them for 16 years. And they kept quiet. Only Governor Wike, of all of them. So yes, Governor Wike has done well to be able to campaign for somebody, and you will be comfortable and confident that he can win you the votes with his performance.
I mean, I know that you've been part of election preparation for your party and all of that. How easy will it be to, if the election of February 25th is the presidential and national assembly election, if you're campaigning for another political party presidential candidate, how easy do you think it will be to say, vote on this ballot for our party, but vote on that ballot for another political party?
Most of the people there are educated. They are not stupid people. They will vote for what they know is right. And if Jagaban is their candidate, they will vote for us. That's the APC. Now, the other part, I'm not campaigning for the other people. However, they should be able to do their own homework without waiting for what the national body will do for them. So for the presidency, which is where I am mainly concerned about, we are hopeful of winning all those kind of states, especially River State. Even the others, I don't want to mention these names, but you see, there's a governor who signs only MOU. The only thing that's commissioned in 8 years now, almost 8 years now, is street light. And he's busy fighting against supporting the policy that is killing his own people. After signing like 500 MOUs, he commissioned some street lights.
No, but let's take it to the election. There is a poll, a review poll of ANAP, the latest one for February, which still puts Peter Obi of the Labour Party ahead. Bola Tinubu comes second, Atiku Abubakar comes third, and Konkunso of the NNPC comes fourth in that poll released for February 2023. And in that ranking, it's saying that suppose the presidential election is being conducted today, who are you likely to vote for? 21% in favor of Peter Obi, 13% in favor of Bola Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar 10%, Konkunso of the NNPP 3%.
Please, what is the sample size and what was the method?
You have to ask the ANAP, the people.
You see, some of these polls, they just sit down in their rooms and make they make caricature of poll. I'm a PhD student. I concluded my MSc. I know how polls are conducted. When you I took for a poll that was supposed to be 4,000, I took a sample size of about 30. My supervisors rejected it. I had to go back and take a poll of 150. Then I used the Tarayama polling technique. You see, these people, we're all educated people. I can sit down and make a few phone calls within a certain vicinity. I will get what I want to get within that vicinity. You have to diversify your polls. These guys have not gone to Gombe. They have not gone to Borno. They have not gone to Yobe. They were not in Jigawa. They just sit down in Lagos or wherever they sat and then just make up these numbers. And it's not even funny any longer. It's an insult and an indictment on the academia. If you want to do a poll of a country of 200 million with 96 million voters with 777 local government, come on. There are sample sizes that you cannot use because it's not going to give you something very close to the truth.
I think this same organization polled in 2015 and 2019, which was in favor of your candidate.
See, I have told you, we are not working with all these funny polls.
No, the question I'm asking is different.
Well, I can't remember, and I don't want to talk about it.
I'm telling you, okay. I can remember. Okay. But I'm saying that this same organization polled and said President Buhari was going to win in 2015 and 2019, and President Buhari did.
But did you see us celebrate their polls? No. Because we know that these are not credible polls. A credible poll will take a substantial sample size and a diverse sample size.
Is it because it's not in your favor?
No, I just ask you a simple question. You say I have to ask them, but I'm telling you that for a land size of Nigeria with 96 million voters, thrown around about 100 and something thousand polling units, come on. You just took sample size of 2,000 people and you say it will give
Peter Obi is being tipped from that poll to win the election.
The same people say Peter Obi will win Kwara State, he will win Lagos State, he will win Oyo State. I called my brother in Ogbomoso, you know I'm from Ogbomoso, and they've never had the name. So you see, it's easy to sit down in your room, make up these figures, and throw them around. We are not bothered about all this. For what they are trying to do is, they know that Peter Obi will not even come second. He might come fourth after lower than rejected ballot, so that they can now have reason to create problem. That's why they are doing all these things.
Ayayalawa, political economist and member of the APC. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Well, that's our show for today. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimaloye. God bless Nigeria.